People are getting sick and tired of chasing allocated whiskey and spending tons of money on high-priced bottles. The good news is there's plenty of high-quality, low-price options on the shelves, and if you want to find out what our top 12 bourbons are under $30, then stick around. All right, pretty girl, before we get started in our top 12 list, I think we should thank the patrons.
We should.
So if you don't know, we do have a Patreon support page, and all of the people's names that are on your screen right now are all contributing at the top 3 tiers. It's a great way to support the channel. If you want to hear more about it, you should stick around until the end. So let's get into some whiskeys. Also, quick disclaimer, I don't happen to have representative bottles of all 12 whiskeys, just because
Which is shocking, because we've got a lot of whiskey.
Well, for one thing, these are whiskeys that I do actually drink.
Yeah. And
so it just so happened that 3 or 4 of them, I recently finished the bottle and haven't gone to restock. But secondly, when you're doing, 20 to 40 barrel picks a year, and you buy multiple bottles of all your picks, you don't always need your daily drinkers on the shelf, because you do at some point need to get around to drinking the single barrels that you selected. So don't be mad that we don't have all representative bottles, but Wes is going to throw bottles up onto the screen so that you can actually see what they look like. So no worries there. So what is the first whiskey in the list, pretty girl?
The Woodford Reserve. 90.4 proof at $29.
Yeah, $29. And this is one, and this is funny. I don't mean to sound fancy, but occasionally when I fly, it is so inexpensive to upgrade to first class that I do it. And this, that's when I drink Woodford Reserve, because in first class, that's their premium bourbon pour. And I have learned that if when you order your Woodford, you ask for a double, they'll give you 2 little bottles, and you can put one away in your bag for later use. And if you get 2 doubles, you end up with 2 single drinks and 2 bottles to take with you on your journey through life.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's how you make it slightly less expensive to upgrade to first class. What's number 2 on the list, pretty?
The Maker's Mark. 90 proof, $24.
Maker's Mark, 90 proof, $24.
Easy peasy.
Now, Maker's Mark is a really interesting product, because it was made to be a little bit softer, a little bit easier to approach, because it has wheat in the mash bill instead of rye. The other thing that I love about Maker's Mark is that there was a brilliant female business person that was involved in the early stages of the distillery, and her mark on the distillery is still there to this day. And one of the things that she did was she had all of the buildings on the property certified as historical sites. And so they're now protected, and if they have to do any work, they have to go through like an extra process to get it approved, and it all has to be in alignment with the way that everything looks. And so Maker's Mark is one of the prettiest distilleries that you can visit. So the number 3 on our list is what?
Old Forester.
Old Forester, 100 proof specifically.
Yeah, specifically.
It's
$25.
$25. It's a value play. And if you like bananas and peanuts, this is going to be the way to go for you. Because all Brown-Forman products taste like banana runs to me.
I can do the banana. I don't like the peanuts.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
But you still love Jack Daniels.
I do. Yeah. It's a weird thing.
And I believe that Old Forester and Jack Daniels have the same mash bill.
Oh.
But I think I read that they have different yeast. But solid pour, easy to find. What do we have for number 4?
Bullet. 90 proof, $24.
We actually have one of those. So we'll put that out for everybody to take a look at.
We had a great time at this distillery. And, we had really great palates on our pick for that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Bullet Distillery is on the site that was formerly the Stitzelweller Distillery, which is where the world famous Pappy Van Winkle was originally sourced from. And so not only is it a really cool historical site, but it's a very modern distillery that's built with all modern technology and techniques involved. They actually don't use rickhouses. They palletize their whiskey, so instead of rolling it into ricks on these rails, they stand them up on their ends and then stack pallets on top. So 4 barrels fit on one pallet, and then they put another pallet on top and 4 more barrels, and so on and so forth. And there is some research coming out that shows that that's a more efficient way to age your whiskey. But the other cool thing that we know about Bulleit that most people don't know is that some of their whiskey is contract distilled at Bardstown Bourbon Company. Do you remember the day we figured that out? Were you there?
I don't remember.
We were on the tour, and someone commented, because they write who they're making whiskey for on the board.
Oh, sure.
And it said, I think it said Big Daddy-O.
Yeah.
And so we asked, like, who's Big Daddy-O? And they go, oh, we have a non-disclosure, we can't. Well, the day before we had toured Bulleit, and we saw that they had palletized whiskey barrels. And so we were looking in their barrel fill section, and the barrel fill section, all of the barrels had their bungs on the end.
Okay.
And so we knew that whoever was having it made, they palletized their whiskey. And so somebody goes, oh, I know who it is. And we asked the tour guide, like, hey, if we guess right, will you, like, blink twice? And she was like, sure. And we go, Bulleit? And she goes, I don't know who that is. What? But Bulleit is owned by Diageo. Big Daddy-O. Diageo is like one of the largest spirits companies in the world. And so then someone realized and goes, Diageo. And she was like, and blinked twice. So yes.
No, you probably shouldn't say that on.
Oh, no one knows who it was or even the date that we were there. It's fine.
Jeez.
All right. What's number 5 on the list?
The Elijah Craig, 94 proof. It is $29.
$29, 94 proof, Heaven Hill product. They claim on the label that Elijah Craig was the father of bourbon. That is absolutely not true. That whole story about him making barrels out of his burnt barn and storing whiskey in it, and that's where aging whiskey in barrels came from, is an old wives' tale. Truth is that the popularization of aging bourbon in barrels was probably created by the Tarascon brothers, who had immigrated from the Cognac region of France, where that was already a common practice, and they were shipping whiskey down to New Orleans as an alternative to cognacs, and they were probably using the same techniques. Welcome back to Pretentious Whiskey Reviews. Today, we're evaluating the 1982 Pappy Van Winkle. Ooh. I'm detecting a hint of Bolivian virgin tears and West Indian grasses.
Y'all, you don't need all that crap. All you need is an American whiskey aroma kit from bourbonrolltalk.com. Developing your palate is a learned skill. Over time, you can train your taste buds without being a douchebag. Get yours today at bourbonrolltalk.com.
I'm also getting Indian nutmeg. What do we got for number 6?
Knob Creek.
Knob Creek, I've got that one.
Okay.
Woohoo! Woohoo! Wes in the background, cheering for his old fave.
Yeah.
The alma mater.
100 proof, $30.
Yeah, $30. It was $29.99 at my local Total Wine. I looked up all these prices yesterday.
Look at you.
And just barely squeaked in the under 30 category.
Sure.
But really solid product. Jim Beam product. And it's the same mash bill as Jim Beam and Booker's and other whiskeys that they make. But just a really solid value play, because it's now gone back to a 9-year age statement at 100 proof for under $30. Like, you can't beat that. All right. But you are going to notice a bit of nuttiness on that, because the Jim Beam yeast does add a bit of a nutty flavor, although I don't detect it as much on Knob Creek as I do the Jim Beam products. So, yeah. So what's next, Pretty?
We have the Four Roses.
Four Roses, you've got that one.
This one is 90 proof and $30.
90 proof, $30. Yep. Four Roses, one of my favorite distilleries. Brent Elliott is a brilliant chemist, but also
super nice guy.
We've had the opportunity to spend time with him. And the Four Roses 90 proof is kind of their flagship product. And there's a little bit of a backstory to Four Roses. In the 40s, 50s, and into the 60s, they were the #1 bourbon in the United States. They had a medicinal permit to make whiskey or to sell whiskey during Prohibition. And so their brand was very well recognized. And whenever the alcohol sales opened back up post-Prohibition, they were a #1. Everybody wanted Four Roses. But they had gotten bought by a Canadian bootlegger named Samuel Bonfman. And he wanted his whiskey, Seagram's, to be the #1 selling whiskey in the United States. So he shut down sales of Four Roses bourbon in the U.S. and made it for foreign market only. And back in the 90s, we finally got Four Roses back here in the United States. But the only reason you all don't recognize Four Roses as the largest bourbon in the world is because Samuel Bonfman backshelved it over his Canadian pride. So I find that interesting. All right, what do we got for number 8?
The Russell's Reserve 10-year.
Okay.
So that's 90 proof, $30.
Yeah, and this is another super value play. I happen to not have this one because I drank it all. But to get a 10-year age statement even at 90 proof is really hard to do. Less than $60, $70 in this market. And Russell's Reserve has been able to maintain that product, and it's just got a beautiful profile. I typically will get a dark cherry note on it, and sometimes there's a hint of a nuttiness in there. But generally speaking, the Russell's is a little less nutty in my opinion. Some of the single barrels get real nutty, but the batch product like the 10-year is mostly cherry forward, and I like it. And for $30, it's a good deal.
There you go.
What's number 9?
Okay, we have the 1792 small batch. So I like this one because it's in a fun bottle for bars, right?
Yeah,
so it fits on the shelf.
So fun fact, 1792's bottle is normally wide, and often because when you have a wide bottle like this, and you're trying to make customer-facing shelf space, it takes up a lot of space. So a lot of times they'll turn the wide bottles so that you can fit more on the shelf. And so 1792 made this elongated bottle that's the same general shape, but fits better on a back bar.
Yeah.
And normally these don't get sold in retail. They all go to Class B that's meant to be sold to bars and restaurants, but
we found it in some random place.
We found it, and I was excited, so I grabbed it.
Yeah. So this one's a 1 liter,
but this is a whiskey that I get a medicinal cherry, so it tastes a little like cherry cough syrup, and I also get some banana runts on this as well.
And this one is 93.7 proof and right at $30.
And I did ask the former master distiller why it was 93.7, and it was a hilarious text message interchange because he was like, there's no reason. We knew we wanted to be somewhere between 93 and 94, so we just picked it. And I was like, fair enough.
There you go.
It seems kind of random for such an important decision, but
sure.
It's the only one that I know of that's 93.7. So,
there you go.
What's number 10?
Okay, Benchmark full proof. But this one's 125. Do I have this one? I do.
Yeah. And so now would be a good time to talk about proof. So generally speaking, if I'm going to be drinking a whiskey neat, I don't typically drink anything that's less than 90 proof. And so everything on our list is 90 proof and above. But it's really hard to get a real high proof whiskey under $30 because...
And this one's 21.
Yeah, and it's all the way down there. It's only $21, and it's 125 proof.
Yeah.
It's also the exact same whiskey that goes into E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof, Stag, and George T. Stag, and Eagle Rare 17. It's all the same whiskey. And so the fact that you can get that mash bill from such a world-class distillery at $21 at 125 proof, I'd have to say that this is probably my number 1 under 30 bottle that I'm currently drinking. It's even supplanted Wild Turkey 101 for me.
Wow.
So what's number 11?
Okay, we've got Old Grandad Bottled and Bond, 114.
Yeah, so there's actually two
There's
offerings
two?
of
Okay.
this. There's the Bottled and Bond, which is obviously 100 proof, and then they have the
114.
The 114 proof version. And the interesting thing is that they're only $3 apart.
Huh.
And so the Old Grandad Bottled and Bond here is 21. The 114 is 23. And this is an excellent example of a distillery charging what they need to maintain margin and not making their price exorbitant because they raised the proof. Because there are a lot of examples, Angel's Envy might be the worst offender of this, that they'll have a whiskey that's like, 40 something bucks, and then they release it cash strength and now they want $100. And it's like, I get you didn't get to add water to it, but you don't have to, more than double the price to maintain the same margin. So this is an excellent example of them only charging what they needed to.
Okay.
And on that whiskey, it is also a Jim Beam product, slightly higher rye mash bill.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more spicy, but typically on this, I get that nuttiness, but I also get a little bit of an orange zest and a little bit more baking spice like clove and cinnamon and nutmeg.
It sounds like I should drink those more.
Yeah. So last but not least, what do we have for number 12?
The last is Larceny. It is 92 proof and $24.
So Larceny, the reason for the name was there was a IRS revenue agent. In post-prohibition, you had to have an IRS agent at your distillery that had the keys, and they would unlock the distillery in the morning and they would lock it when they left in the evening. They were first in, last out, and it was supposed to be a consumer protection policy to make sure that no one ever could tamper with the whiskey because there was always a government agent there watching everything. And this job did not pay well, and it was usually taken by raging alcoholics because they were allowed to walk around and drink whiskey from any barrel anytime they wanted, all day, every day, and no one could tell them that they couldn't because that'd be interference with an investigation, right?
Sure.
And there was
It'd be a job perfect for you.
Yeah. And
Just
so,
drink all day.
Yeah, no.
All day, all night.
These guys often had a bit of a drinking problem. But one of these individuals, his name was John E. Fitzgerald, and he got a reputation for identifying the cherry barrels.
Oh, yeah.
And so he needed to check those sometimes multiple times a day.
Oh, obviously.
Just to make sure that no
Just
one
to
had
make
tampered
sure.
with them. And so the distillery workers supposedly started following him around to see which barrels he was frequently going back to. And then they would use those for special projects. And so that's why larceny is called larceny, because he was stealing the whiskey. It's why there's a keyhole integrated into the label and a key on the neck. Because he had the keys to the distillery, and if you look real close, it says his name right on there. So he's the namesake for that whiskey.
Oh, that's nice.
So those are our top 12 under 30. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Randy, come on, bro.
You left some off.
You left some off. And so I'm going to tell you the ones that I considered to include that I left off. The first of which is Weller Special Reserve, which is a 90 proof wheated whiskey from Buffalo Trace. It's $27. But it can be really hard to find somewhere, and this episode was about whiskeys that you can find on the
easily.
shelf. Another one, and every time I do one of these top under 30s, all of you start messaging me about Cooper's Craft 100 proof, and it's $29.99, so it's $30.
But it's not distributed everywhere.
It's not distributed everywhere. In
Yeah.
fact, somebody had to mail me a bottle just so that I could taste it. And so I know there's a lot of big Cooper's Craft fans out there, but unfortunately it's not available everywhere, so it couldn't be on the list. Another example is Old Tub, which is 100 proof, and it's $20.
But it's under 20.
It's
so
under
it
20.
belongs on the under 20 list.
Yeah, and so we'll probably do another episode that's an under 20 list. But I wanted to save that whiskey for a lower price range.
Sure.
And then Buffalo Trace, which is, it's a really solid whiskey. It's 90 proof. It's usually $25. But not only can it be hard to find in some places, but it's a lower proof and higher price than the benchmark full proof. It's rumored to be older in age, but I prefer the added flavor that's added to the bottle of the benchmark full proof from the higher proof. over the added flavor from the extra age in the barrel. And so I typically don't recommend that people buy Buffalo Trace at 90 proof as long as benchmark is an option.
Sure.
And then we also have to give a fat shout out to Wild Turkey 101.
I mean, we keep that in-house
all the time.
It's what we put on our alcoholic Keurig.
Yes, when we
make cocktails out of it.
We have a cocktail robot. It usually has the Wild Turkey 101. But I left it out in preference for the Russell's Reserve, which is the same whiskey, slightly higher age, slightly lower proof, and mostly because Wild Turkey 101 belongs on an under 20 list.
Sure.
All right, what do you say we give away some whiskey? So, unfortunately, we don't have all of the whiskeys.
We don't have all 12, but we've got plenty.
We have plenty here. And so what I'm thinking is let's give away a 1 ounce sample pack of everything that we've got.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's Larceny, the Benchmark 1792, Four Roses, Knob Creek. Mine happens to be a single barrel. I was out of the 9-year because I drank it. The Elijah Craig, which also happens to be a single barrel. And then Bullet, Old Granddad, Bottle and Bond, and 114. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ounces of whiskey.
I feel like that's a good deal.
That's a good deal.
Yeah.
How many winners do you think?
I mean, if it's all under 30.
Yeah.
You know. How many bottles do we have?
I just bought a bunch more.
No, the little bottles. You pick.
All right. Let's do 3 winners.
Okay, 3 winners.
But because it's 9 ounces, what are we going to ask them to do?
Share it with a friend.
Share it with a friend. You don't need to sit down and drink 9 ounces in one sitting. That's not wise.
Not die.
Yeah. So why don't you tell them how they can support the channel?
Man, all the ways. We got a Patreon. It's super exciting. Lots of bonus content and all kinds of fun distillery takeovers and things.
Yeah, I feel like people underestimate the value of the distillery takeover opportunities.
I think I underestimate your ability to plan them because I'm the planner in the family. And I'm like, there's no way. I have accidentally bought airfare to the wrong airport before. Yeah. But somehow I'm good at planning these distillery takeovers. You have to, we planned I planned a whole birthday party for one of our kids. And then it was like, it wasn't in the calendar. And I was like, it's the day he was born. I'm not sure how that's relevant to this particular topic. But I'm just saying, you're really good at planning. But we also... Oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead. Get discounts on merch, which I'm... particularly partial to since I have sourced all the merch. And you get the satisfaction of knowing that you support the channel and our mission. Yes. So. And speaking of merch, you can go to bourbonrealtalk.com. There's links for all of this in the video description below and see what products that we have. We've made whiskey things for whiskey people. Yeah. You're going to find some stuff that you like. And last but not least, you can support this channel by considering me to be your residential real estate agent in the Dallas or Houston metro area. Because I am a real estate agent. My real estate company has subsidized this channel since its inception. And I do give epic bottles as closing gifts to anybody who hires us because they found us through our whiskey endeavors. And he says us because I handle all of his transaction paperwork. So that is absolutely true. I have lots of hats around here. So if this is your first time tuning into the channel, we'd like to thank you for the view, but also tell you a little bit about the reason why we do everything that we do. And that's because we want to use whiskey to bring people together and to create community. And that became an important mission for us when we lost my younger brother to suicide in 2014. And at the same time, I started to look for more connections in my life. I had some toxic relationships that I had to kind of get away from, and I needed a new group of friends to spend time with. And I saw how whiskey was helping me to create those kinds of deeper connected relationships. And in some cases, even with people that I might not otherwise have become friends with, because whiskey crosses boundaries. And I knew that my brother was losing those types of relationships in his life when he made the decision that he made. And I thought to myself, maybe I can use whiskey to get you connected to others, and you can have those kinds of connections. And so that's part of the reason why we started this channel. But through that process, we did discover that there is a negative side to the whiskey enthusiast world, and that's the whiskey trolls. And those are individuals that show hate online to strangers. For no reason. Well, there's a reason, but it's not a good one. It's usually a self-esteem issue, to be quite honest. Lonely people. Yeah. And so what
we figured out was that we needed to start our own community that was troll free, which we've done with Bourbon Real Talk Community, which is a free Facebook-based enthusiast community. You can go join right now if you'd like. But those trolls also taught us that if they can hate online, we can love online. And that's why we end every episode the same way, and that's this. If you woke up this morning and you're unsure whether or not anyone loved you, just know that we love you. We'll see you next time on Bourbon Real Talk. Cheers.
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm testing my new whiskey glass that I had designed.
Why?
Well, there's a company out there that's a real Carin, and she threatened to sue us.
Really? You don't say.
Yeah, so we had been producing some traditional tulip-shaped whiskey glasses.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
We never used the name.
Right, of course.
But they claimed to own the shape of the glass. Mm-hmm. And since I'm just a little guy, I couldn't fight.
Right.
But do you know what that motivated us to do, Wes?
What?
To go out and design a glass that was actually made for high-proof American spirits. So the company that had the problem with us, their glass was originally designed for low-proof Scotch whiskey.
Oh, okay.
80, 86 proof, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. And you know what I had noticed? Every time I would nose a really high-proof, high-quality spirit in the United States out of this glass, all I got was ethanol burn.
Yeah, a little burn there. I felt that.
And so we went out and we designed this glass that's actually designed for those higher-proof spirits. And I'm so confident in this glass that if anybody were to go to our website and buy one, I'm offering a money-back guarantee.
Wow.
If you get that glass to your house and you find yourself one of these traditional tulip-shaped glasses and you nose a high-proof spirit side by side and you can't tell the difference, I will gladly give you your money back.
So what you're saying is they can really stick it to the Carin and support the little guy by going to bourbonrealtalk.com and ordering one of these with absolutely no risk. They could get their money back if they don't prefer it, nosing it to the other?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if you love small business and you like sticking it to Carin's, that's the way to go.
Stick it to Carin. bourbonrealtalk.com.
Cheers.